Welcome back. It was in 1996 with the passage of Prop 209 that ended the practice of affirmative action in California. Now, Proposition 16 would bring affirmative action back, allowing governments, if they so desire, to take into consideration color, race, gender, nationality, and ethnicity when it comes to hiring, contracts, and admission to the University of California or the state university system. Representing the yes side is Tom Saenz, President and General Counsel of the Mexican-American Legal Defense Fund. And representing the no side is Ward Connerly, the author of Prop 209, a former UC Regent and President of the American Institute for Civil Rights. Mr. Saenz, we'll start with you. Why should voters support this measure?
Proposition 16 is on the ballot because a supermajority of the state legislature placed it on the ballot. It is an opportunity in this extraordinary year where we are all more aware of some of the racial and gender disparities that continue to afflict our society. We see it in the disparities shown by the pandemic, shown by the recession that followed the pandemic, and even more so in the police bias and police violence that has been the subject of so many demonstrations. As we're more aware of these disparities, Proposition 16 would allow policymakers in California to take steps to address those disparities where they occur in employment, public contracting, and public education. It would then create an opportunity to create more equal opportunity for everyone in the state of California.
Mr. Connerly, to that argument, isn't within the purview, say, of the University of California to have a diverse enrollment? They know that students learn from faculty. Students also learn from other students.
We have students with different backgrounds. The language of 209, and I keep hearing words like consider. The language of 209 is that the government shall not, the state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment. That's the operative term, preferential treatment. You can't have different standards. You can't discriminate on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. And it seems to me that if we want to have an honest discussion about this, use the language that is embedded in Proposition 209. What those who want to use race want to do is they want to do a lot more than what Proposition 16 commands. They want to require ethnic studies. They want to study reparations. They want to do a host of things, and we don't know where they will go with this prohibition against discrimination if we allow them to discriminate. And so I just say over and over again, don't go back. We want to make sure that everybody is treated equally and fairly. Moreover, we have in this state over 100 community colleges, one within 30 minutes driving time of every man, woman, child, and dog in this state. We have 22 state universities, state colleges. The University of California should pride itself on excellence. It is very select. We want to keep it that way.
Mr. Saenz, if you were to achieve the goal of getting the University of California, say, to look in its student makeup like the rest of the state, based on my assessment of the UC demographics, you would need to increase the number of African American students by a couple of points. You would need to increase the number of Hispanic students. You would need to increase the number of white students. But you would need to decrease the number of Asian American students at the UC by almost 50%.
So providing equal opportunity for all does not harm anyone. In fact, it's probably what, if you ask them, the vast majority of students, the vast majority of parents in the state would want. And all Proposition 16 would do is to enable decision makers, including at the University of California, but also at our Cal State universities that have become more selective and therefore do make decisions based on things like biased standardized test scores about who's admitted to particular campuses and particular majors. But it would enable them to consider at the margins in limited ways, consistent with what the US Supreme Court has said, the issues of race and gender, including discrimination. The simple fact is we cannot thrive as a state where 60% of our high school seniors are Black or Latino, but only 29% of undergraduates in the University of California are Black or Latino.
With all due respect to Tom, for whom I have great respect, this is nonsense. All of our institutions do not have to reflect the demographics of California. We have standards, we have the system of merit. We want our doctors and others who graduate from UC to have met those standards. To impose a system where the government is allowed to discriminate and to apply different standards to people is a disaster. We don't want the University of California to be our 111th community college. No on 16.
You froze up there for a moment. Thank you very much, Ward Connolly, from the author of Prop 209, of which Prop 16 would repeal. Tom Saenz from the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund, yes on 16. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.